our like straight up Passover food that is right here. And then I went through this whole thing and I took everything off the shelves and I wiped the shelves down and I cleaned the floor. And so now I have to mark this space as chametz free so that nobody actually, like brings the stuff that's on the counter over there. Nobody will like put it in, eat some and then put it back on the shelf because we want to make sure there are no crumbs in here or anything like that. And then down here, this shelf used to be filled with flour. Now it has almond flour, which is, of course, permitted. And there are many other things in here that we have. These are all our baking goods. But basically, it is chametz free. And then what we do, is we'll put a little sticker here as we're cleaning that will just say chametz free or whatever it'll say. And then we do that for all of the shelves as we go through and wipe them down and clean them. Yeah, and that's kind of our deal. That's what we do. So for whom is this year going to be like the first year that you're doing, that you're kind of like taking your Pesach cleaning to a new level?
Me.
Yeah. And so what do you got? Have you started yet?
I did the rest of my apartment and I like cleaned under my bed. There were definitely a lot of crumbs there. So that was a good call.
A lot of chametz under your bed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to do my kitchen next, I guess.
Right. The kitchen is the bear. The kitchen is really hard. And,
yeah, I wanted to wait until I finished eating my chametz before I.
Well, so right, that's the other challenge is that you're doing two things at once. Is you're like cleaning the kitchen, but you're also still eating chametz, and there's this like balancing act. So as you get closer, this gap between the two closes. As you get closer to Passover, it gets really hard. Myra, are you asking a question, or you're just? Oh.
No,
Okay.
no, just checking something with my stylus.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right, good. Serena, how crazy do you guys go over at Chateau Cutler Leedy?
How crazy have we been, or are we going to be?
Yeah. Are you? Is this year different for you guys?
I think in the past I probably was more like I just like all the kitten yoke. I would get rid of them, and now I'm kind of like, but so I have been vegetarian for the past 2 years, and so I'm thinking, considering our lockdown and my diet, like what the heck else are we gonna eat? So I'm thinking that can stay, and I'm just gonna put everything else in the basement in the storage.
Right. So this year you will do kitniyot.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Again, for people who, whether or not you're eating kitniyot, even if you don't eat it, you do not have to get rid of it. You can keep it in your house and it's no problem. 1 second here. Somebody's chatting a question. Gary says, I'm learning a lot about this stuff and hadn't heard of chametz and cleaning until this year. Yeah. I mean, Gary, you're not alone. A lot of people don't know about this. And I will say, this is one of the oddest features, I think, of being a Jew. Really, I have to say, cleaning the house for chametz is such a strange, it does not sound like a religious practice. And so, Gary, I didn't grow up knowing about it at all either. But I think that it's so different from anything else we do. And I think that the opportunity for it, I would say we can look at bedikat chametz in two different ways. One way, wow, look at Serena, how organized she is. What are you doing? What are you showing us? We can't hear you.
I don't know. I was just that's my baking area. I'm gonna have to empty it all out.
Oh man. And are you gonna take all that out and do you wipe down the shelves and everything?
I mean, why not? It's a good opportunity, but I'll probably just put it all in a laundry basket and put it in the basement. I mean,
honestly, I think that's why Chana gets, in the past when Chana's gotten really into the cleaning for Passover, it's really because she likes the cleaning more than anything. She likes to have a house that's really clean.
There's a lot of time to clean right now, so.
Oh man, Yeah, it's true. There is. Right. Serena, that's a couple hours of work right there. That looks really intense.
Well, this is all spices.
Right.
Except for that cereal.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, right. And I said, what's that? A big thing of flour up at the top?
Yeah, flour.
Yep. Yep. That's got to go.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah. Well, let me just finish my thought. One second.
Oh, yeah.
So my thought is that, I do think that there can, first of all, the mitzvah is just a mitzvah in and of itself. You got to do it. You got to get the chametz out of your house. This comes from going way back. And it's just part of our tradition. But we can also add a religious meaning on top of it, because I actually think that the bedikat chametz corresponds to, bedikat chametz means checking for chametz. It comes from the verb livdok, which means to check. And if you imagine a kind of internal cleaning out in the same way that we usually think of only on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but if we think of like a process of internal investigation, like what are the things that are keeping us in Mitzrayim? What are the things that are preventing us from becoming free? You can also have it be a kind of process of meditation. So for however much time you're in your kitchen cleaning, to use that time for just kind of an internal inventory of livdok, of bedikat chametz, of the internal kind. So there can be this kind of spiritual overlay of it. Megan, what do you got?
What's your policy on toasters? Because it's just all chametz, right?
Yes. What is my policy of toasters? So what you want to do is, so if you have an oven, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to clean it out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a game show host. I don't know why I keep doing this, like as if you don't know what an oven looks like. So this is an oven. You clean it out as much as you can just by scrubbing it in all the ways that you would normally do. And then you're supposed to set it on its like highest setting for, I don't know how long, I've forgotten, but there is an answer to that, for a while, and let it burn out all the chametz, and then wipe it down again after it cools down, and then you're kosher. There are some people who say that you cannot do that with a toaster oven. This is our toaster oven because it doesn't get hot enough, but we just do our best. We clean it out. We turn it on really high. It goes to like 450 degrees or something. And we just do our best. And that's how we handle it. Mariah, I saw that you chatted a question, which I'll get in 1 second. Serena?
I was considering probably like on tomorrow, I guess, trying to time myself and see if I could make matzah using like my pasta roller in the correct amount of time, and have homemade matzah just for fun, and maybe like as a fun lesson with the kids.
It's a great idea.
And so I guess my question was, if it all went according to plan, like all of that is made, I would still put the big jar of flour away at the end, but like that would all be okay, right? If I was able to, make it and roll it and pop it in the oven in the right amount of time.
Yes. Now you would want, yes, it would be. And I don't, you should consult somebody who knows about making matzah and the ins and the outs of it if you want it to be like kosher for Passover matzah, because I don't know those things. But you just want to make sure that everything you're using has been koshered for Passover, right? So you're not shooting yourself in the foot as you make it, but you want to make it with, things that have already been koshered and are ready to use for Passover, and then like including the oven.
Right.
And then boom, you make it.
Got it.
So Mariah asked a question about, can you close the cupboard and lock it until Passover is over? Right. So this is one of the parts of Passover. I was talking with my son about this, and we both agreed it feels, this is one of those strange loopholes permitted by Jewish law that was introduced to make Passover less burdensome, but never quite feels right to me. And that is the selling of chametz. So if you're not familiar with this, this is going to sound very strange to you. And that is that you're actually permitted to sell your chametz to a non-Jew And that does not mean that you stand out on the street. You're like, you know, selling chametz like out of your, you know, out of the back of your car. What it means is that the way it usually works is you get rid of everything you can get rid of, and then there's a bunch of stuff that that you can't get rid of, or it would just be a big financial loss to get rid of it. And then what you're supposed to do with that is that you put it in a box and you lock it away somewhere where you're not going to accidentally use it or be tempted to use it. So we put it in a cardboard box, we tape it up, we put it in the basement. And then essentially the selling happens just by essentially a legal transfer. And we sent out in the communication to the congregation a form that you can fill out that you put your name and your address and where your chametz is, and then it sends an email to me. And then I gather all of those and I act as your agent, and I actually sell them each year to Alexi. I sell all of the chametz to Alexi for like $1. And then after Passover, I give him the $1 back, and the contract and he signs a contract when we do that. And the contract specifies, you know, that I'm selling it to him, and then he'll have it for this period of time. So it's a legal fiction, and some people are not comfortable with that because it's a little distasteful. It seems like, well, the Torah is pretty clear, the tradition is pretty clear in the idea that we're supposed to get rid of it, and you've just found a clever way to keep it in your house and maintain possession of it.
Well, I usually put it in a cooler and stick it in my shop. But what made me think about it was Serena had a cupboard full of all her baking goods and stuff.
Right.
And I was wondering if she were to, you know, clean up, put the stuff back in the cupboard and lock it, if that was something she was allowed to do, or if that was not permittable because it actually has to be out of your house.
No, it does not have to be out of the house. Whether it can actually be in a kitchen cupboard that you're still using, I'm not 100% sure. I think maybe if you put a lock on it, it could be.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you were to lock it up, because like I have stuff that goes in my freezer.
Yeah.
But I lock it so we don't open it the whole time through Passover.
Right.
Because it's off limit. It's a non-Passover freezer, so that everything just stays in there. Right. And perishable stuff that's not perishable usually goes in my shop.
Yeah, that I don't know about. I'm not saying no, but what I'm familiar with is people who actually have it in a discrete area. But yeah, I think it probably does work, what you're just saying. And I also see people are chatting back and forth about how do they get their hands on the form to sell your chametz. We sent that out in email communication. If you need it from the office again, we'll give it to you, so you can get it. I mean, look, we always have a little bit of chametz to sell, and we do it every year. And it's just one of those aspects of Jewish life that I'm not 100% comfortable with. It just sort of seems a little bit cheating. But, you know, there would be significant financial loss. And one way to look at it is I can take the money that I save from the financial loss and I can give it to tzedakah or whatever to justify it in that way. But it does feel a little funny. But yeah, that's what we do. And we, every year it's, you know, Alexi has probably purchased chametz every year for the last 40 years. Or more. I don't know when he started exactly working for Sherry Torah, but he did it with Rabbi Geller. He did it with 25 years, says Jemmy. He did it with Rabbi Geller. He did it with Rabbi Zuki. Now he does it with us. So it's a funny thing. I had this experience. Some of you have probably heard me tell this story. The first time I heard about this crazy idea of selling chametz, I lived in, Han and I were living in New York, in Brooklyn. And I was sort of taking on all of these new observances and traditions that I hadn't grown up with and kind of learning about them as you know, each year. And so two things were new to me this year. One was the serious cleaning for Passover was new. I didn't realize how extensive it was supposed to be. I didn't realize it was anything more than just kind of getting rid of loaves of bread. So one thing was I took on the cleaning of the kitchen, and then I realized that you could also sell chametz. And so we did the cleaning. I'm like rushing around, and it's like really last minute because I had no idea how just epic it was going to be. And I finally get down to this box that I realize I've got to get rid of this. I think we're like an hour away from Passover. And so I get all of my chametz in this box, and I run downstairs to my neighbor, and I knock on the door, And I'm like, I know this is really crazy, but I'm Jewish, and, and I go through this whole thing to explain, like, why the hell am I showing up at your door with a box of chametz? Because I also didn't realize at that time that it could have been facilitated by a legal transaction. I thought he actually had to take the chametz. And I go through the whole thing, and he's like, I would be happy to do that. I'm also Jewish. And I was like, oh, no. And he was like, I don't really observe Passover, so I'm happy to take it. I was like, no, I can't do that. That's not going to do anyone any good. So I think of that every year as I get to this, thing. Hold on. There's got another couple comments. Molly says, oh, beautiful. Molly says, if anyone wants to donate chametz, I live in an area of low income housing. So that's awesome. So Molly, how would people get that to you?
I have a car. I would go get it.
Right. Okay. So that's actually great. I mean, yeah, I would say, in the past when I've looked into that, and maybe this is obvious, people have understandably only wanted unopened foods that still have a seal on them. But I actually have.
At most sanitary, especially in this time, I would.
Yeah, of course, right, especially at this time. But yeah, I mean, we have a bunch of that. Whether we have enough that would justify you coming over here, and whether it would be worth it, I don't know. But that's
it's up to you. Honestly, I was where I live. There's like a donation table, and people just put food there and things that they can't really take with them when they're on their way out moving.
Okay.
And like that. So like,
great.
If you want,
great.
You can
okay. I'll email you about that. That's great. Thank you.
You bet.
And anybody else should as well who wants to. Any other questions? Let me see. So one more chatted question. Oh, after we fill out the form, then what do we do? So Mariah, what you do is the first thing to do is to designate an area in your home or areas in your home that where the chametz is going to be, and you seal it up, you lock it so you can't get access to it, and then you just, in the form, you'll see it just sort of tells you to put in your address, and that's it. You don't have to do anything. It's all a total legal sleight of hand. I'm a little uncomfortable using that language, but you just fill it out.
Oh, okay. Because I opened up the form to fill out probably about a week ago. And I thought, well, where would I put all my food? And I thought, well, that would be kind of weird. And I wasn't quite sure about it. So I would fill out the form, and then I can still just put my stuff away in the shop in that one freezer that's designated already.
Yeah.
The form just makes it legally not mine.
Correct.
Oh, well, I'll fill the form out then.
Now, but I also, yeah, I'm not sure if this is what you were asking, but I think it's good practice to put the stuff away first and then fill out the form. And the reason
I'll do that.
The reason I say that is because if something comes up and you can't do it, or in other words, if you fill out the form and you say, I'm going to put the stuff here, and then something goes wrong and you can't get it together or whatever, now you've created a really awkward situation where you've sent me a document testifying that you've done something that you haven't actually done. So anyway, I don't know if that's my sort of slightly obsessive personality.
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it that way then. Okay.
I do that first.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So look, I mean, I guess, so I told you that here's my big confession. Ready? This is how crazy, this is how much we're letting ourselves go this year. This is how nuts we are. So this year we are, usually what we do is we kosher all of the metal plates, all of the, like, what do you call this, cookware and stuff. And it's a multi-hour, I mean, it's 2 or 3 days of just intense work in the kitchen. And every year Hannah gets completely miserable, and every year I get completely miserable, and it's a nightmare. And then we say, Happy Passover. Now let's celebrate our liberation. And so this year we're talking about how we want to handle the koshering of pots and pans, and whether we really think that that's something that's necessary. Because, if I take a clean pot and pan, well, I don't have a clean pot and pan because that's the status of our kitchen right now. But, you know, if we take a clean, we have this all-clad stuff that we got for our wedding 1,000 years ago. And, you know, normally, you know, when it's clean, it's clean. It doesn't have anything in it. There's no chametz in it. And it's only according to rabbinic law. The rabbinic law says that, you know, there could be like little micro, tiny, invisible pores of chametz that are within the metal. Because there is a chametz, there's a principle within the laws of koshering, rendering dishes kosher, that says that by the process by which something took on a property, milk or meat or chametz, it's through that same process that you have to render it kosher. So in other words, if it's if there's a plate that was only used for cold dairy foods, for example, then it can be rendered kosher just with cold water. But if there's a pan that was used on used over fire to cook dairy or chametz or whatever, then you have to use fire and heat in order to render it kosher again. But, you know, so that's, you know, and that's a legal principle within the laws of kashrut. But to the just plain common sense and to you know, as far as the eye can see, there's clearly no chametz in these things. And so we are trying to work out a way that we can feel like we're adhering to the halakha and being diligent, but we're not making ourselves miserable for 3 days. So I'm not sure exactly how that'll play out, but that's the way that we're trying to keep ourselves, especially in this year of being already stir crazy, trying to make sure that we go into Pesach with big open hearts, ready for the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus, and not feeling like we're trapped in habits that don't actually elevate the sanctity of our lives in any way. So that's where we are. It's an ongoing process.
This is kind of a unique Passover because we're actually locked into our houses, kind of like back in the original Passover when they were locked into their houses and they were scared of the outdoors, and if they went out, they could be killed. And so we're all like staying inside, trying to stay safe, and kind of a unique opportunity.
Yeah, it is unique. It is unique. And I think that I'm glad you said that, Mariah. I think that there is blessing in it. It's difficult, you know. I mean, there's so many stories about, you know, I mean, it can be just depressing to be in your home. I mean, you know, and I don't mean that. I mean that in quite the clinical sense. It can be a great mental health challenge just to be locked up in a single space, cut off from all of the places that you normally go and the people you normally see or talk to, especially if you're extroverted. I'm a little bit extroverted in some ways. I'm like half extroverted, half introverted, and those two parts of me battle it out my whole life. And so, you know, it's difficult. And so and also feeling so cut off from the world in this holiday that is so much about the liberation and bringing the world from a lower spiritual state to a higher spiritual state, and to reaching out to people who are suffering oppression. To be cut off from all of that and locked in our homes makes it really hard. But I think leaning into the discomfort and the challenge and the uniqueness of this year, maybe there's something there to be discovered that we just don't know what it is yet. But
yeah, I'm an introvert, but I miss my grandkids.
Yeah, right. Yeah, everyone's missing something.
Yeah.
So if I want to make sure I answer any other questions, because I think we're gonna bring this to an end.
I have a question.
Yeah, Gary says, like the spirit of the chametz goes in or something. I'm not quite sure if that's half of a question. Let me scroll up and see if you.
I think in reference to the
pots and pans, about the pots and pans.
Gary, I think, yeah, that's interesting. I don't think it's actually the spirit of it. I think that they really had this sense of, I think it was really like a more of a concern about like these, they didn't have the vocabulary for it, but tiny particles of foods that would be in it. I don't think it was I don't think it was a reference to sort of like some spirit of the material. I think they really thought that those materials were in there in a kind of microscopic level, although they didn't use that word. But having said that, I'm actually not sure. I've never studied the laws of kashrut in the Gemara closely enough to know precisely what the answer is to your excellent question. It's an interesting one. I wish everybody happy cleaning, and more than that, I wish everybody meaningful cleaning. So try to find a way to find the balance between taking it really seriously on the one hand to honor the tradition, and to give yourself opportunity for reflection, but also kind of backing off so that you don't drive yourself crazy, especially in this year when we really need to be looking out for ourselves and for one another. And I hope you find some spiritual meaning in the process of it. And I wish everybody a beautiful Pesach.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time. It was fun. Good to be with you. Take care.
Bye.
Happy Pesach.
Bye.
Happy Pesach. Bye.